Welcome to CAF Warbird Tube. In this episode, we're diving into the story of one of the most versatile and enduring aircraft of World War II. That is the Catalina, the PBY, built by Consolidated. Now, it wasn't built for speed or glamour, that's for sure. Instead, it needed to be an aircraft that had missions that demanded endurance, resilience, and reliability. It's a long-range patrol bomber and maritime reconnaissance aircraft. The PBY became the eyes and ears of the Allied forces across the Pacific and the Atlantic. And the Catalina, it is one of the most recognizable aircraft in the fleet. And this week, we're going to visit a particular airframe. Actually, this wing has two PBYs, but we'll talk about the one that they're restoring to airworthy condition. And that, of course, is our friends at the Lake Superior wing, home to those Catalina restorations. And we are very pleased to let you know that this is the 5th anniversary of the very first broadcast of Warbird Tube. And guess what airplane we featured that night? Yep, it was the PBY from the Lake Superior Squadron. So coming back home, I guess, on our 5th anniversary show, also episode number 231. Now, whether you're joining us for the very first time or you've been here for all 5 years, we appreciate you tuning into Warbird Tube. And if you would share the post across your social media platforms, we would appreciate it, because we want to spread the word about the good works, not only that the Lake Superior Squadron is doing, but all of our CAF units, and also the history of World War II aviation. Now, Warbird Tube is made possible by the Commemorative Air Force. To find out more about the CAF, our events, our aircraft, local units like the Lake Superior Squadron, or how you can be a part of the fun, just visit our website, commemorativeairforce.org. Now, as you're watching tonight, I hope you have some questions, and when you think of a question, type it in the chat box. We'll either have these gentlemen answer it during the presentation or before we sign off. And with that, joining us from Superior, Wisconsin, which is right on Lake Superior. Winter is almost set in there, but not quite. But we have Brian Jansen, Evan Sayward, and Dan Hayes. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, Brian. Let's start with you. What is your role in the Lake Superior Squadron, and how'd you get involved?
Sure. I'm Brian Jansen. I am the unit lead of the Lake Superior Squadron. I joined the unit back in 2019, and basically how I got involved is I was one of those little young tykes way back when, believe it or not, and I went to a show at the Minnesota Wing down in St. Paul. And I remember distinctly thinking when I saw those planes out on the runway there that when I grow up, that's what I'm going to do. So that's why I'm here right now. So,
Evan, how about you?
I joined, I'm trying to remember exact year, but it's roughly about his time, I think is what it is.
Okay.
I became an exact date and what month it was, but yeah, it was right when we actually had moved out of the other hangar. I got down here, so I was in the transition kind of helping. But I've always been interested in mechanics, how things work and how things are built, and especially with something like this, how they built them back in the days. It's kind of cool. So just always a hands-on person.
Good. Dan, how about you?
Oh yeah, I forgot one thing. I'm the maintenance officer. My bad.
Okay.
So I joined in, I think it was first week of September in 2019. My first day here was when we were all put in the wing on the Black Cat, our other PBY that's outside. I got into aviation because I've always had a passion for machines and a love for airplanes, and I got involved with the Commemorative Air Force because I was going to Lake Superior College, the local community college, to become an aircraft mechanic. And my teacher, Bill McMahon, was the unit commander at the time. Actually, he hadn't become unit commander yet.
Oh, yeah.
But he introduced me to the Commemorative Air Force, and I caught the bug. I used to be the motor pool officer, fixing all our land vehicles and stuff. And now I'm acting as Evan's adjutant of sorts.
Yeah, we bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah.
Well, and you have two PBYs. We're going to talk more about the blue Catalina, but you also have the Blackbird as well. How did you end up with two? I mean, that's it's unusual enough to see one, but how did you end up with two?
that kind of goes back to the story of 79 Yankee itself. CAF picked up that PBY in around 94 and flew out of St. Paul for a number of years until a big windstorm came and unfortunately damaged that plane. Flipped straight over on its nose.
Nose over tail, so tail got smashed into the ground right over.
So,
pulled out.
A very unfortunate event. But as part of that, the other PBY was part of the insurance response for that, plus additional fundraising, I believe, happened at that time in order to pick the red. It was red at the time, the red PBY.
Yeah.
Part of the requirements for storing PBYs after the incident was that it had to be completely hangared inside a hangar, and the nearest one that was available was Hangar 101 up in Duluth, a big, large ex-Air Force hangar that was sitting vacant as far as I know. That was before my time. So, and so both PBYs were moved up into that storage area. The red plane at the time was flown for a couple of years before it too had some inspection. Some things were found during inspection, and it was no longer deemed safe to fly.
So with that,
so that's how we wound up with two.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with the Black Cat, that one is actually you're working on, but that's going to be a static aircraft, correct?
Correct. That's a static aircraft. We want to put that together for people to display, to experience, and kind of see what it was like to be inside the plane without having to worry about, keeping it flightworthy.
Yeah. Currently, the cockpit is still together on it, and the radio cabin in a sense, but we're still trying to reassemble it to have it full static. But currently, from pretty much landing gear aft is off limits, but yeah, we're planning to get it fully static and hopefully eventually restore it. But it's missing some parts, so it's going to be interesting.
Okay.
Well, we also recently got her mobile again, so we can move the Black Cat back and forth and do whatever kind of work we need to, since got the landing gear on it secured, and
our Clark tractor is running again. So
yeah, we had a tractor that back in Hangar 101 we used to use to move the planes around, and it hadn't run for probably 7 years, and it was last spring we got it running.
Yeah, I think it was.
So
we at least got it firing. This a little bit more.
It moves and it does its job.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all you need. Let's talk a little bit about the history of the Catalina overall in World War II. It took flight in 1935, first flight of the Catalina, but really came into its own during World War II and beyond.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing the ways Catalinas were used over the years. I always find new and interesting stories whenever I'm looking around for things. And throughout the war, even before America joined in 1941, there was serious concerns that the plane was even, there's new models of flying boats available, and
right.
Should we continue to make PBYs, yes or no? But they just found that a very proven design was very useful, and they continued to make them all the way through 1945 until the last ones were delivered just after the end of the war. During the war, they served in a number of roles. Pretty much everywhere you could find: anti-submarine, search and rescue, scouting, transport, and attack bombers, day and night, the various phases. Of course, they were slow, so they're a little bit vulnerable for during the day. That's why some of the Black Cat missions were envisioned. Then even after the war, transport for various places that did not have runways yet, they could be served by flying boats, and Catalinas came in useful. Fire bombers is a very common role, and even planes such as flying yachts came out with decked out leather couches and other accoutrements like that. So,
and it's amazing that in the picture we're looking at is a Catalina flying over the Aleutian Islands. So they were in Alaska, they were in the South Pacific, they were in the Atlantic, and they were in Europe. I mean, it really, the Catalina served all across the entire world.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Many different military services, both during, and post-war. South America, Europe, Australia, that had flew a lot of PBYs during those periods. Even post-war in the military, they lasted. I can't remember the exact date, but well past World War II.
Yeah. What was the typical crew complement on a PBY? I mean, is there sort of a generic sort of number?
Usually around 8,
Okay.
depending on the mission and stuff, but usually around 8. You'd have a number of gunners, pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, radioman, navigator, and I think that's about 4 gunners, I think. So I think that was about 8.
Yeah.
And it really did have a phenomenal range. I mean, it could stay aloft for almost an entire day.
Yeah, there was actually even more.
Oh,
there's a number of missions. Australia ran a number of PBY commercial flights from Australia to India during the war. They're actually called double sunrise flights because they lasted over 24 hours and you actually saw the sun come up twice. In fact, I think they still have a record for a commercial passenger flight of over 32 hours.
Wow, incredible! I found this picture. Of course, the internet is a great resource for all sorts of historical pictures, but it's I'm sure it's a pose shot, but it's really a nice snapshot in time. You see the pilot kind of sticking out from the hatch, of course, wearing the leather flying jacket, but you have an airman on the wing. You've got guys everywhere. It really looks like it's like I said, a kind of a staged photo, but it's kind of indicative of the crews that were aboard the Catalinas during World War II. And we're looking at the in the front here, and we're going to come to this when we look at some of the pictures of the current restoration. This nose turret up here, which is getting some love and attention from you and your crews. With the Catalina, and now you mentioned that you were in Duluth, moved to Superior, and for those who are not necessarily accustomed to the geography there, Duluth is in Minnesota, Superior is in Wisconsin, and they're basically butted up against each other. It's a thin line between the two. But that was a pretty monumental move to bring both airplanes and all the other equipment and things you have with the squadron, including you've got another airplane as well, an OY-2, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we have a OY-2 Sentinel as well that we're working on. We actually, I believe they had rented trailers for yachts is how they transferred it over from Duluth to Superior. I can't remember, it's about 15 miles from the airport to the airport, roughly.
15, 20-ish, around there.
Yeah, 15, 20 miles. But there is some pretty tall bridges that go over the river where some of the Laker ships run. So there's some interesting pathways that they had to traverse to get from Minnesota, Wisconsin.
There's also quite the elevation change going from the Duluth airport to the Superior airport.
I think it's like 900 feet here, and up on the hill up at the Duluth, I think it's 1430 if I remember right last time I flew out of there.
Yeah, so it's and the hills aren't nice and gentle. Going down in Duluth, they're pretty steep. And I think Goat Hill in Duluth is recorded as one of the steepest in the country. Or it's pretty much like that. Yeah. It's a mailman's nightmare in the wintertime.
Yeah,
I'll bet.
The whole area.
Well, the picture that we have up on screen now is one that I wanted to include because, and you had mentioned it too, that they were gunners. A lot of people think of the Catalinas as being search and rescue or reconnaissance aircraft, but they were armed. Most of them were for defense, and at 125 miles or so per hour on cruise, you probably needed a little help just in case.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they did find out very quickly in the war, day attacks in fighter-occupied territory were not very safe. But they did have 4 gun positions, one in each of the blisters, as you see on the picture, one in the tail, and a gun position of 1 or 2 guns in the nose.
The 50 cals that they actually can swing out into the open window. And then the tail gunner and nose gunner. Good. You can see the NAT pictures a little better.
Yeah.
He said the nose gunner.
All right. Something that we're going to call attention to is you said this was a 5A model?
Yeah, that one on the screen is a 5A model.
Okay.
You can tell from the next. I think it's the next picture.
Yeah, is the 6. So I just wanted to point out to folks the looking at the tail, and that's how you gentlemen told me that I can tell the difference between a 5 and a 6 because the 6 has a much larger tail, which you can see in this picture.
Yep.
What model is?
So ours are both 6A models.
Okay.
The strange kind of odd fact is the replacement tail that's installed on the Black Cat is actually a 5 PBY 5 tail, so it is shorter, but it's not the original type style of tail installed on that plane.
How tall is that tail?
The one that's in here, I think we figured at a rough guess about, I think it's 25 feet roughly. We haven't measured it inside, but there is a.
So we measured from the height of the center section of the wing, and that's about 21 feet. And the tail sticks up about 5 feet higher than that.
Yeah, so 26.
Yeah.
There's actually climbing pegs where the tail curves up from the rest of the fuselage, and that's so that the flight crew can climb on the horizontal stabilizer of the tail to do pre-flight inspections.
Wow.
So it's fun climbing up there.
And you have your tail is in storage at the moment, correct?
Well, yes and no. It's actually on the plane itself because that's our storage area. It's kind of a weird shape, so we was like, well, it's the best spot for it is on the plane. So we have a temp installed just to kind of keep it out of the way and must not get damaged or anything. So it's sitting up there ready, but sadly our hangar right now currently is a little too short. So when we get it out to actually physically put it on, the plane's going to be outside.
Okay.
Until we solve our hangar big enough to fit the plane.
That's one of the challenges with an airplane this large.
Yeah.
This is a photo from several years ago when it was in Duluth. You had it up on the landing gear, wings on, everything. Kind of looking like it, with a little more work, it could fly away. But there's still a lot of work to do with the airplane.
Yeah, that was just before, I believe, the move. It was a little before my time, so I'm trying to speak from what I know.
Yeah.
But it was just before the move. They had reassembled the plane and were working to connect everything back up and went through testing. They were digging into the nose as well at that period of time, as well as some of the parts of the keel as well. But unfortunately, with the move, the wing and the engines and everything had to come back off again in order to transport the plane. So a lot of people spent a lot of hours disassembling the plane in order to make the move. So.
And in current state, we're looking at the nose.
Correct.
Yeah. So what's going on in this particular section?
So this section is actually, we've taken some of the skin off the side. The damaged nose piece that also is taken out. That's why it's empty on the front.
Mm-hmm.
The dangling piece of metal on top is actually the cockpit windscreen frame piece. Otherwise, it's hard to see, but that angle iron piece, that's actually what the back end of the turret's going to sit on. So we've looked at a video actually of PBYs being assembled in the factory, and they had like a shopper to actually walk into that seat, the gunner seat, and help us in a sense. You make it and locate the turret, and then you build up the side to it.
Okay.
So it's basically, the only thing we don't have in there is the anchor locker, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's the only thing we have to add to it.
Now, do you have the turret assembly itself, or is that something to be?
Yes, we do.
You do. Okay.
Yeah, we have both the
eyeball turret and the kind of straight front turret as well. So the older style, the later planes had a kind of an eyeball to contain the guns, whereas the older style was more of a straight round circle turret. Kind of a vision. I'm trying to think how to describe it, but.
Well, one is like.
That would be is this the older style turret?
That's the older style.
Okay. That's the straight older style.
Okay.
But the eyeball turret, you would have a kind of a glass bulb out of the front of that a little bit. Is what it looks like. Yeah, we have a bunch of pictures of that. So some of you can see a little bit back behind where the cockpit would sit is some of the work that we did a little over a year ago on the canopy in that second area of the plane there.
It'd be more on the right side of the plane. This is the left side. We haven't done that much of a skin replacement on it. A lot of it was actually pretty good, so we didn't have to touch it. Yeah, just looking back at the blisters there, they said the only other thing that's right at the base of the I call it superstructure, but the main spot where the wing sits, we do have that crown piece finished that can go on there, a nice curved surface. We just we were still working on the radio cap, and then we kind of just didn't. The guy was semi-retired, so he we're gonna still get the project done. It's ready to go in, we just have to get to it.
Okay.
And the same kind of applies for the cockpit.
The same thing
so
applies to the cockpit. It's ready to go.
Sometimes it's ready to go and be reinstalled. We just need to find the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this shows a little bit more, but the cockpit on the left there, you see the green, that goes all the way back to where the crown I was talking about, where the wing attaches in the middle. That's all new aluminum there. So we've pulled it off, match drilled, and put it new ones back on. There is some spots on around the door that's also been reworked. That was done in the last like two years.
That was the side fuselage where it's pretty dusty. It's really hard to tell right now because we have been removing paint.
The jack point, and you can kind of see going underneath the door. All that area has been reworked.
The darker green you can kind of see is where we did a lot of work on the skin, and that's been a couple of years now.
Some of it's original skin, some of it we had to replace, but new rivets.
And we just want to point out that this is you're using bead blasting walnut shells. So that's the dust that you see on here. That's not rust or corrosion. That's just dust. And and then which is why you've got the tent up. Well, sometimes you have the tent up just to stay warm in the winter, but this time it's trying to keep the dust down out of the rest of the hangar.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. It gets pretty dusty. Even with the tent up, it gets pretty dusty, right, Dan?
Oh, sure.
I left all the dust on the plane. I like to tell myself that I just wanted to see what the plane looks like if it was painted brown. But it's mostly you really don't want to just sweep dust off of things in aviation. Right. You want to rinse it because it'll float those particles off the paint or the sheet metal, and it keeps it from getting scratched. So
okay, makes sense.
Yeah, it's harder to clean up a muddy file and just kind of leave it as is. Yeah.
And these are extra bags of sandblasting media right back here?
Yeah, but you can actually kind of see underneath the blister is a like bluish, or it actually almost looks black, but it's a pot there. That's our blasting pot.
Oh, okay.
Where the media will go in. Those are the garbage cans, but on the other side is the that small thing. Yep, that thing in there.
Oh, okay.
We do recover the media for 2 to 3 uses as well.
Yeah, so. They break down, but 2 uses is a good. Sometimes we get 3, but normally 2 is the ideal.
Yeah, but it gets a little too thin.
Yeah, it's breaking down.
My record's 4.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the more you use it, the smaller the particles get. So you use it again, and it becomes less effective, and it also makes a lot more dust.
And we get visibility about 5 feet when it goes down to that one.
Yeah. The other thing you can see in that picture too is hanging out from the blister turret is actually the blasting hose. That was from when I was removing the paint from the engineering tunnel inside the plane.
So you're treating not only the outside but the inside as well?
Correct.
Yeah, basically every square inch of paint we're taking off except for any sheet metal that's been replaced.
Okay.
Just because we know that it doesn't need to be inspected. Otherwise, we're going to be inspecting every square inch of the plane.
Yeah. Well, the whole plane's going to be blasted nose to tail unless we've already painted it. So I think outside is what, 80% maybe?
I would say like 90%.
Outside is about 90% done, and inside is like barely touched. That's
so I did a basic rough estimate on how long it would take myself and a crew of at least 2 other people to finish the media blasting, and it's something like 20 to 25 man hours. But that's not including the outboard sections of our wing itself, because we have to remove the paint from the outside and the inside of those as well. And that's probably going to be another 10 to 15 hours per section. Depends on if someone's small enough to get inside the wing. Because they're not really built for people as big as me.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. But yeah, percentage wise is what, maybe 10% done in the inside. Like this is about the only spot from like the water line. So basically, you could say the top of the catwalk, kind of guardrail in a sense there, up has been worked and blasted in there. Everything below that is still has some paint and or not fully been blasted.
Yeah, and fortunately, it's the time that I've spent just kind of dialing in our media blasting equipment. It's while I'm working on it, I have a spray pattern that's about 5 inches wide in a circle that removes paint. So as long as I'm patient with it, it doesn't take all that much effort. It's just the crouching and the awkward positions and jamming myself up inside the tail of the plane, which surprisingly I fit in there.
Yeah. Maybe experiments.
And then taking breaks to change the filters on respirators and
refill the blasting pod and
Yeah. About how long does the blasting pot last? I mean, how you've got a 10-minute window or 15 or 5?
It all depends on how much media you're actually feeding through it.
Okay.
Because the way it works is it's just air that's being blown across the underside of the pot, and you're feeding whatever amount of media using gravity, just going right across that airstream. So you could restrict the flow to where the valve is barely cracked open, and that pot will last forever, but you're going to get no work done.
Right.
Or you could open it all the way and you blast everything out of the pot within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or less.
Yeah, but when I have it all dialed in, I can make a pot last about an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
But it's a lot of work gets accomplished in that hour and a half.
How do you calibrate the pot to not damage to take off the paint but not damage the metal?
So it's not the pot that is the variable on that. It's the media itself.
Okay.
So walnut shell is softer than aluminum, and it's harder than the paint. And basically what you want to do is you want to choose a media that's softer than what you want to keep, but harder than what you want to get rid of. So if it was a steel structure that I was media blasting, I'd be using something like iron oxide, just because it's not as strong as steel, but it'll work faster. Some people they'll use baking soda on aluminum or walnut shell, hazelnuts, glass beads. Some people use dry ice. I had thought about using dry ice, but that gives up CO2 gas, and there's a lot of ventilation requirements when you're doing something like that. But yeah, we're not really worried about damaging the aluminum. I've even done tests on scrap pieces of aluminum to see if it actually starts to erode it, and we haven't had any issues with it.
Yeah, we really had to sit on it for a while, and it just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Really.
Wow. And to give you an idea of how much dust is is here, so this is the what is this is the front gunner's.
The gunner's platform, it's at least that's up.
So that's where the gunner's feet sit as he's sitting in the seat. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So if you see the hole behind that platform in the floor, that's where his seat post is.
Okay. Right down there. Good.
Yep.
Yeah. Just a little bit of dust in there.
Yeah, it's roughly
just a little closer view.
Yeah, that's after cleaning too.
That's after someone cleaning.
I think there was an old photo of when I was removing the paint from the nose wheel well, and I had used so much media just to make sure I get in all the nooks and crannies that there was like a sand wall that was around me that was so high that there was probably like 3 inches of space from the top of the sand to the bottom of the wheel well. So that would have been like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, that was. Oh yeah, yeah. This is just
as you described it.
Sorry, go ahead.
As you described it, it's not so much a gunner's platform as a sandy beach, right?
Yeah. Walnut Beach, but yeah.
Walnut Beach. What do we got here?
That's the upper attach point for the right-hand main landing gear.
Okay.
Our current plan is to actually blast on each side to make sure we get down the hardware, but we're going to be pulling them off for non-destructive testing, just to confirm that's solid. Our landing gears, of which we got worked last couple, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, we sent them off in 2023, I believe,
so
and then they came back in 24.
Yeah, those had micro cracks in it that the Air Corps found. So he's like, well, we have one thing left to the plane that's still attached point. Let's get those inspected. So we're gonna carefully get those out of the airframe. And there's I think you found a.
Yeah, there's a local company here in Superior that they do non-destructive testing, and I basically gave them the dimensions and the quantity of the number of parts we need to inspect, and they said that it would only take a few hours for them to inspect it. So
it's going to take us more than a couple hours to possibly get it out.
Yeah, it's I had gone into the engineer's tunnel and I blasted all of the sealant and the 7 or 8 layers of paint up the nuts and bolts, just so we could actually take the hardware out. And it's something like 350 bolts altogether that we have to still take out.
Yeah, because it's the top point, then you have 2 other points that go out, but the front plate is one big plate, has 2 attach points, and then also has a spade like thing going into the airframe that has bolts going through it this way. So we have bolts coming to the outside and this way. I think
It's it, but pretty much every single axis you could think of, there is a bolt holding it together, because it supports the majority of the weight of the landing gear. So you have a plate that goes on the front of the wheel well, and then there's 2 pieces that come out of the side, and then you have shims that go between the attach points and the actual bulkhead that it attaches to, just to distribute the force of the hardware itself. So it's a lot of stuff, and it's put together watertight, so there's sealant that is between the aluminum skin and the steel attach point, and it's meant to keep water out, but it's also meant to keep 2 dissimilar metals from causing corrosion. So it's always fun when you're trying to remove 80-year-old sealant.
Yeah.
One thing we want to call out here is around this inspection plate is that is not rust.
Correct. So that is iron oxide primer. Some people could argue that it technically is rust because it's iron oxide, but everything in the military, whether it was a plane, a jeep, or a tank, iron oxide primer was used instead of what some people would think of any kind of self-etching primer that you get at a hardware store. You spray it on gray or white or a blackish color. This stuff is very durable, and it actually takes more effort media blasting to take the iron oxide primer off than it does to take the 7 layers of paint above it off. So it takes a little bit of additional patience.
And now we move up to the nose wheel. Well,
yeah, it's not the best picture, but it's kind of hard. In fact, I'm pretty much laying on the floor to take that picture. But you can see how those 2 arms are actually for the doors themselves. They're actually on a torque tube that goes back to the landing gear. So when the gear comes down, it pushes on the torque tube and the doors open up while the gear comes down. The big block that you see in the front there and the left of the picture, that's actually a locking mechanism that keeps it up. And then the 2 windows there, one will be the round one in the back is where the wheel will go, so they can see the wheel when it's all the way up, and the front one there, they can see the gear itself. That'd be sitting pretty much, if I remember right, if you're sitting in the seat, it'd be like down right at your ankle in a sense.
Yeah, the front door you can see from behind the cockpit.
Yeah, the wheel one
is pilots can probably look straight down.
Yeah, the wheel one's kind of like back behind you, kind of diagonally.
So the pilot and co-pilot can see the tire, and the bombardier and nose gunner can see the actual strut that the nose gear is built on.
Yeah, the same way as when it goes down, they can look through and it's like, okay, yeah, that looks locked, and come and land at that point.
Nice. Well, this is an older picture, but it also shows that some of the progress that you've made with the gear in the past. And this is from Air Corps as well. Air Corps helped redo the landing gear for the airplane.
That's correct. Yeah, they redid the landing gear to a point that it's actually a certified landing gear. It's pretty impressive. Like, it looks really nice. But this is in the process that I think they were reassembling, I believe, at this point.
Yeah, that was on their assembly bench.
Yeah.
So they had pretty much finished rebuilding that would be the nose. Or no?
No, that's the main. It's just
it just looks smaller in the picture. Yeah, they had just finished rebuilding the parts, and they're just assembling it to make sure everything goes together properly.
And this is the gear as it is today, just waiting to get reinstalled.
Yep, it's all painted up and still on its skids that came from Air Corps. They're ready to go. Otherwise, we're keeping them inside our maintenance office or hallway, kind of call it. And yeah, everything's there. Of course, you can see the struts compressed to a point. But yeah, it's really nice looking. It's kind of walk by, I had to constantly look at it.
Yeah, we Evan and I we tend to baby the landing gear, and we're very cautious when people just look at it.
Yeah. So these are refurbed brims that the Air Corps was, I think, able to find and painted, I believe is what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this
those
is
are the main wheels.
The mains, yeah.
the main gear. Yeah. And then this is nose wheel.
That's actually the brakes for the main.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
so that's the brake pack.
Okay.
Those go on the main gear rims. So they actually get bolted onto the back side of the rim before the rim and the tire go on the axle itself.
Yeah,
So,
they're on the inside. So you have the landing gear and post, the brake will go on, and then the wheel itself will go on over top of that. It has a kind of teeth inside the rim that keeps it from rotating. Or actually, correct.
well, so
it grabs on the rim for the brake, and the mount is.
yeah, so it
Kind of
keeps the discs mobile,
Yeah.
but it keeps the rotor stationary.
Yep.
So it's actually the opposite of how brakes on cars work.
Yeah.
And a brake on a car, you have your pad, your rotor, and a pad. And on this one, it's a multi-stack up. So you have a pad, a rotor, a pad, a rotor, a pad, a rotor, a pad, a rotor, and it's like a stack of 9.
Wow.
9 or 11.
Yeah, it ends up being reasonably thick, like 4 or 5 inches, I think is at a guess.
Yeah. So that brake assembly weighs something like 50 pounds or something.
50-ish, yeah, somewhere around there. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what we're here for tonight, and that is as part of the 12 Planes of Christmas. You're raising some money for continuing the restoration of the airplane, but this is kind of your plan of attack for the year going forward. Tell us what we're looking at.
We're looking at 2 different colors. There's actually one additional one, but that kind of covers the whole plane. But the green is the landing gear. We currently are trying to get that in process to get onto the plane itself. So as we were talking about earlier, we're getting the mounts off the plane to get inspected. And then the goal is to be able to get the gears back on. We've been in talk with Minnesota Wing. They think they have some old tires we can borrow, because the current tires we used to have on our rims were so dry rotted we couldn't use, that we can hopefully put it on our mains and have a roller, so we'd be able to move the fuselage out, clean it, everything.
And some people would probably ask, why don't you just put brand new tires on it?
Yeah.
And one thing to keep in mind is that brand new tires for this plane are going to cost more than $30,000.
Around that, yeah.
And by the time we get the plane moving, this most likely springtime, and when it's actually airworthy, if we have brand new tires, they'll have to be replaced just from exposure to sunlight, different
Right.
temperatures, chemicals.
Yeah, there's also just like the ozone gases. Some people, it's just they being in the air in a sense, so dry rot them in a sense. They'll start cracking, and by the time you fly, you're going to have maybe a year or two in a sense if you bought new ones. With the old ones we can use that are not flyable, we can at least roll it around, and then we'll get close to the actual flying. We'll buy a brand new tires, so we'll have new rubber on all the wheels before flight.
Good.
So the next part there, the yellow, is actually the midsection.
Mhm.
The current wing that we have right now was I can't remember exactly the full story behind it, but it has fuel oil like tank on one side and has this weird hose attachment, and then aviation fuel was on the other side. So we have to actually go through, first we have to inspect the whole thing, and then we have to rebuild all the vent lines, fuel lines, all that other stuff on top of full inspection itself. So the plan is to try to roll it, to get it in the hangar, get all the stuff gone through hopefully this winter, but it's going to be kind of hit and miss on the landing gear. When we have time, we'll get that part done. But yeah, then we'll be building up the firewall to get the tanks on, get everything ready for the engines in a sense.
It's kind of like a everything all at once, but only do one thing at a time.
Yeah, the one of the other reasons is that thing's been in our hangar, in and out. We're constantly moving it. It's like, well, let's just aim to try to get it up on the plane, and then we can just keep on connecting things and getting it done closer. Because we worked on it outside. Our previous union lead, Bill, actually painted it. We had the outside all inspected and everything. Was working on the torque tubes. So it's getting there. It's just we need to get inside and do the inspections and get the rest of it assembled.
Good.
Yeah.
And the last part in that one actually is that the plane itself is the media blasting. The whole plane nose to tail will eventually be painted.
So these next couple of pictures are kind of hard to figure out what's going on here, but that's kind of our goal for this year's fundraiser program. It's the actual actuators for the landing gear. And that's kind of, they're in storage right now over at Air Corps. And we're working to raise funds so that we can complete that particular work.
Yeah, the hydraulic rams themselves, couldn't find a picture exactly, but the inside of the barrels where the ram goes was severely pitted, so it's not even repairable. They have to either find another one or possibly manufactured, I believe is what the story was. I can't remember. But yeah, we need to figure out something with them, and that's kind of where it's right now, is like our stuff currently is unsafe and we have to find something.
That's the fun thing about when you're dismantling complex assemblies and aviation, heavy equipment, automotive work, is you can't really give somebody an estimate for how much the whole thing is going to cost, because you never know what you're going to run into.
Yeah.
Especially when you're working on stuff that's as old as this, because there's not just a warehouse that's full of parts. So
yeah, everything has to be find old new stock, or find a used one that's repairable, or find an old one that has parts that can steal to make another one.
or you have to make the tooling to fabricate the new thing.
Yeah.
So,
which we all know Air Corps is great at. So.
Yeah.
So those are the actual rams you can see in the top left there, and the I believe the sleeve on their right is the one they took apart and found all the spear pitting. I remember right in that picture. So there's only one hydraulic ram per main, and I think one for the nose. So.
So these are the hydraulic rams?
That's correct.
Yep.
Okay. I'm pretty sure the other thing is just the housing.
Okay. And that's what you're looking to raise the money for this year with 12 Planes of Christmas, is to get those
Correct, yeah.
Back to airworthy condition, right?
Correct, yeah. The rams and all the stuff that goes with it, the valve and I believe maybe even the brake diffusers up there, but pretty much everything to do with landing gear, in a sense, is what's left. So I think it was the brake diffusers up there, which I can't remember the full story on that one. I think that one they just haven't touched. But these are the ones that kind of got stalled out, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can kind of a picture of the gear itself, and the hydraulics are in the upper left area.
Yeah, you can read on the picture, it's number 14. It's kind of
14.
behind the upper arm there. And the top arm is actually locks out in the middle there. It actually folds down when it goes in. and then all the other stuff kind of just pivots off of it. But you can see from there that is the 5 points on the fuselage, which we're also looking into. But yeah, it's the brake. You can see there the brakes inside the rim. And yeah.
That was a little tidbit I always found interesting was for landing gear, there are mechanical locks, but there are spruce wedges that you install as
Really?
redundancy for safety. So before we had moved the Black Cat, that was one of the last things that we checked was make sure that the pieces of spruce are pushed in. And
Brakes are hardwood. It's basically a small wedge. Like there's a mechanical lock arm, and this goes right in there, and it keeps it from making it impossible to break the lock in a sense.
yeah, you'll see a red flag attached to the wedges, and it says remove before flight, just like you would see on like a FIDO tube or
like a lockout pin, like there. Yeah.
flight control lock codes, cowl plugs. So
Are there any parts for the Catalina that are more difficult to obtain than others? Like you said earlier, it's not like you can just go down to your local hardware store and pull something off the shelf. But given the longevity of the Catalinas after World War II, are there any parts that are really, really difficult to find?
The complex parts a little bit, but it's
The
not.
nose.
The nose is going to be a definitely interesting one because it's our sheet metal expert. He actually, if I remember in his words, that the nose piece that is complex curve where it has a window and the bomb sight in it, that actually is a stretched aluminum over a form. And talked to him, he's pretty sure that Air Corps could be able to make it, but it's a rather thick piece of aluminum. But like making something like that is make by hand is almost near impossible. You could theoretically form it. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be an absolute nightmare in a sense because there's so many curves on those things. Like the one, our Black Hat one outside, we went out there and looked at it, and you can see where it's cracked and stuff where they put repairs on that one. And the one we had is just complex curve that goes around the edge, and then you have the tie downs on the side of the nose, which I don't think we have a picture of, but.
well, it's if you think of it, anything in sheet metal, if you have one bend, it's a piece of cake.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make something like the shape of a fender on a hot rod or a rat rod, that takes a lot of skill.
Yeah.
And you can't do things in aviation to the standard that are done in automotive because you have to think about using the proper material, getting the shape perfect, and absolutely no stress cracks during the forming process whatsoever. So it's not something that we can just take a big sheet of metal and put it on a bead roller and make it the shape we want. We have to have it done specific temperature using a mold, pressed at just the right pressure. And
That or soften the aluminum and then harden it. And yeah, there's all sorts of process of annealing and normalizing, all that stuff.
it's a lot of science involved in sheet metal work.
Like,
So,
yeah, we're learning. Like, a lot of this old stuff is like you look at it and like, how on earth did they do that? And they look at it and strike a different angle. And then luckily we have a resource guy that's been on aircraft sheet metal for 45 years, 40 years. Yeah, he's been a great resource for us to help us and stuff. But he's helped on the PBY. Sadly, he had a stroke, but his mind's still there. He wants to help. He knows all the stuff, so we've gladly accepted his information because we couldn't know otherwise.
yeah, it's one of those situations where he's teaching the young pups.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and it is almost a lost art to be able to do what they did back in the 30s and 40s. Machining of aircraft has evolved, through the years. So when you go back in time to try and do that, it's hard to sometimes recover that knowledge. But I'm glad you have someone who does have that knowledge that can pass it along to you.
Yeah, no, it's a great help because some of the stuff you just look at, it's like, can you laser scan that thing or can you do something with new technology? It's like, not really. There's a lot of stuff's made it's not like a stamped part where you have like same part over and over again. A lot of stuff that's on the plane is actually made to that airframe, so you can't take this part off and stick it on that other airframe because it's going to be slightly off.
Yeah, it's not like putting Legos together.
Yeah, that's the way of putting it.
So the way you describe it is like each airplane is almost hand built.
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
It's a art piece in a sense. Like everyone comes together, is built, put together, and everything as somebody's putting it together. So maybe they found a hole slightly off, so the hole's upside is larger rivet, or say the holes get shifted, or this panel got longer, the holes will be slightly over. It's just, yeah, adds on to each other.
Yeah. So I know we're a long way from final paint, but have you talked about what kind of livery the airplane will have when it finally rolls out and is ready to go flying?
Yeah, we most definitely. It's been our goal for a number of years to actually paint it to honor one of the PBYs that flew at the Battle of Midway in VP-23. It was the PBY that first spotted the Japanese carriers the morning of June 4th, and call that in allowed us to get those attacks, send attacks towards the Japanese carriers before they were able to counter. So Lieutenant Howard Addy's plane and VP-23, we're going to paint it in 1942 colors, and with his numbering scheme on it. So that's the overall plan for the restoration work to fly in that color scheme.
Okay. Can you describe what that kind of paint scheme would be in 1942?
It's kind of a light blue, and it'll have I believe it's the kind of a very light blue color overall with the circle and star on it.
Okay. Very good.
And I don't have the exact details off the top of my head, but I know it's the light blue color. A lot of our finished pieces are already in that color.
Good. Well, I know that winter is soon to be upon you in Superior, and for those who have not been there, winters are kind of cold up there. But you've come up with some pretty innovative ways to still be able to work on your aircraft, not only the PBY but the OI as well, and some of the other things. Describe a little bit about how you kind of wrap the inside of the hangar.
Yeah, so there's a few things. You saw in some of the pictures, like the PBY, there's like a tent around it. That can be a dual purpose. We're currently a plastic wall in the front because we're blasting. We just don't want it traveling out. But we would open up the nose into our sheet metal area, would give us an area to work on stuff, and we would heat the area because the hangar itself this was like 1930s hangar.
Built in 37, I believe.
37, okay. Yeah. So it doesn't have like any insulation per se.
Our hangar was a WPA.
Yes, WPA project.
Oh, okay.
So when we first started doing winter work on 79 Yankee, we didn't have the 2x4 frame around the plane and plastic sheeting over it. We had a little PVC skeleton with a sheet of plastic so we could try to get some of the heat to not escape out of the plane. And we didn't have doors on our hangar at the time.
That's right.
So every single time it would snow, the wind would blow the snow all the way to basically the lobby door inside the hangar.
That is roughly about 140 feet.
Yeah. But, yeah. And the guys used to shovel the snow out by hand until I started using the front end loader that they used for snow removal here at the airport. And I'd just go in and back drag all the snow out.
They've got a decent amount of snow. I think it's drifted to like 3 feet in there one time. So
it's
not just so dusting.
The year before we put the doors on, we had a pretty bad storm. As I recall. It was not good.
Yeah. I seem to remember seeing pictures of that with the snowdrift inside the hangar. It's
most definitely, yeah. And it wasn't a small snowdrift either. So
no, it's been a big change since I was the person that took the oil tanks and the leading edges off the center section of the wing, and I think it was maybe 5 below outside when I was doing that. And it's like 200 volts per oil tank that holds it onto the wing. So it was a combination of a thermos of coffee, heavy clothes, and then occasionally sitting on a space heater to warm my hands up over the course of an entire night. And
the same thing happened with a December. I wasn't part of it, but Bill and Van was telling a story where he would assist, and you can feel your fingers. You stick your hand in a hole, like, oh, try to get this out, and it comes out, and you end up getting skewered by a safety wire.
No,
stuck in there. You couldn't feel it. It was like your
hands are
so numb. So, but yeah, it's like the tenting part does help. Like we have electric heaters and some propane heaters for boosters, but yeah, it's we can get it up from 0 in the hangar. The tent can, I think, comfortably 60 degrees.
I've been inside 79 Yankee wearing shorts and a t-shirt in the winter. We can get it so that warm.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we're actually working on is having heaters installed in our hangar, forced air heaters. So that's another thing that we're fundraising for. And then insulating the hangar doors themselves. And then we have the old single pane glass windows, metal frame, grid pattern. And we're talking about replacing the old single panes with
laminated
glass
or something similar. But yeah, there's plans to try to fix some of the cold stuff, but the doors being that aluminum skin and steel structure is really just a heat sink to pull the outside air in, and it's the opposite. It will kind of so it's 0 out. It'll be only a few degrees difference, but if the sun's hitting it, you could get like a 30-degree difference. That's get a good solar gain when the sun's hitting it.
Well, I'm glad that y'all are so dedicated to to the CAF mission to be able to brave the cold and keep working on the airplane. But it truly is a labor of love. You can tell from the way all of you talk about the airplane, and we see the progress. And you just keep moving on one step at a time, right? And again, this year we're helping raise money to help finish off the landing gear and get the airplane back up on the gear so you can move it around and be able to really kind of show folks that the donations that they made in the past to help get it to this point are really starting to pay off. And Brian, if folks want to keep an eye on the progress on this airplane and the Black Cat, what's the best way to keep in touch with the Lake Superior Squadron?
We've got a couple different ways. You can go to our website. We don't do a lot of frequent status updates there. I would recommend our mailing list. If you're interested on our website, you can sign up for our mailing list, and we do roughly monthly status updates to everybody who is subscribed to that. And you get a little bit more detail of what we did since the last update on a regular basis. And then our Facebook page, we usually every week try to get at least some updates on what we've been working on.
Very good. What's the website address?
www.lakesuperioursquadron.org. Very long website name.
Good. And Brian, we'll just finish up with you. Any final thoughts before we wrap up tonight?
No. It's always fun to give everybody a quick update about what's going on, and please keep us. Please give us a call or chat if you have any questions.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you all, Brian, Evan, and Dan, for joining us tonight, and thank you for being part of the 5th anniversary show. We started with the Lake Superior Squadron and the PBY 5 years ago, and we'll keep checking in on you and your progress on both aircraft. So again, thank you for being part of the show tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And thank you to our loyal audience for being here as well. We'd love to hear any thoughts you have on tonight's episode or ideas you have for a future show. Just drop us a line at media@cifhq.org. And as always, if you like what you saw, please share it across your social media platforms. And please subscribe on YouTube and click the bell icon, and you'll get notifications when our new episodes are posted. Until next time, for the Commemorative Air Force, I'm Steve Boss.